Made a video the other day about Starbucks, their recent announcement that they don't want people bringing guns into their stores. They just want you, if you have a gun, don't come in the store. If you come in the store, don't bring your gun. I made the video, and a lot of people really got upset about it. Most people responded positively, but there was this sect of people that seemed to really be bent on defending Starbucks. They're like, well, they were forced into this position by the open carriers. The open carriers, oh, those dirty open carriers, open carriers. It's gotten to where in this community we start to call open carry as a derogatory term. And I just don't like that mindset, period, because the vast majority of people that open carry don't do so with any kind of negative agenda. They don't do so in any derogatory way or any way that brings bad publicity onto the community. There are a few, but you can't judge the actions of everybody by a few. And in this case, you can't give Starbucks a way out just because you want to blame the open carriers again. Now, don't get me wrong. You don't have to justify your desire to go to Starbucks to me or to anyone else. You might feel like you need to justify it to yourself, but even then, just if you want to do it, do it. Not everyone is an activist. Not everyone has to be passionate about something, and that includes the Second Amendment and gun rights. Not everyone has to fight the fight all the time. If you want to go to Starbucks, regardless of their position on guns, go to Starbucks. It's your right to do so, and don't feel the need to defend them. But if you're going to try to say what they did isn't anti-gun, you're wrong, because it is anti-gun. There's almost no way to portray this as not being anti-gun. They basically came out and said, like I said, if you got a gun, don't bring it in. If you come in, don't bring your gun. And then they go as far as to say, they go a little further and they say, and the only reason we're not going to enforce this for now, and I'm adding the for now myself, but when they do things like this, it's for now, is because we feel like we'd be putting our employees in a dangerous situation. Because, us gun owners, we're crazy, fly off the handle people. We're just dangerous. So they definitely wouldn't want to confront us. So I just don't see any way you can spin that as not being anti-gun. About the only way people are trying to spin it into not being anti-gun is, like I said, saying, well, it's the open carrier's fault. They forced them into this position. No, they didn't. They didn't force them into this position. There was a whole litany of things they could have done other than this. They could have said, we don't want demonstrations at our Starbucks. We don't want open carry in our Starbucks. There's a whole levels of things they could have done before just saying, don't come in at all with your gun. But they chose not to. They chose to bow down to the anti-gun crowd. Let's face it, the group that formed after Sandy Hook, she even said that they've been talking to Starbucks constantly since that Sandy Hook happened, trying to get them to change their position. They finally got their way. Starbucks finally said, okay, we'll give you a big wet kiss on the mouth. And that's what they did. They didn't just take a neutral position. They gave the anti-gun crowd a big wet kiss on the mouth. And let's look at the reality of it. These open carry events were not that frequent at Starbucks. This is not a large number of people causing a big problem. Every day at Starbucks across the country, there are more demonstrations that are anti-fur or anti-big bank or anti-corporation. All of those things happen at Starbucks every day at a much greater rate than the open carry people. But Starbucks doesn't take an extreme position on those. No, Starbucks chose to take an extreme position on gun rights. And as I've said, as a private industry, that's their right. As a private business, that's their right. I don't fault them for doing what they have a right to do. What I fault them for is denying me my Second Amendment rights in their business. I'm not going to say they can't do it, but I'm going to say I don't give them a dime of my money because they're doing it. And like I said, you don't have to be an activist. You don't have to care even. You can go to Starbucks. But don't try to defend their position. Because whether you like it or not, they are violating your Second Amendment rights when they tell you not to bring a gun there. When they disarm you, that's a violation of your Second Amendment rights. And it's your choice to walk in there or not. And if you choose to walk in there, that's like saying you are okay with them taking an extreme position because of a very few people, and you're just going to accept it. And by that same logic, it wouldn't be too big of a stretch to say, well, because of the actions of a very few people who shoot up malls or grade schools or etc., I'm okay with the country demanding common sense gun legislation because they were forced into it. They were put into a rock and a hard space by these, gun nuts. Just like you're saying the open carriers are gun nuts. So like I say in the end, if you want to go to Starbucks, go. You don't have to justify it to me. I've said that multiple times. Like I said, you may have to justify it to yourself. But if you're trying to convince yourself that what Starbucks has done is not anti-gun and it's somehow not their fault, well then the only person you're fooling is yourself. You ain't even my real dad.